Well, I'm Jack Rakove. I've taught at Stanford University since 1980. I'm first and foremost a historian of the American Revolution and the origins of the Constitution. When I think about how the framers of the Constitution, or let's say the founders more generally, thought about politics, the person I think about most often and with, I think, the greatest depth is James Madison. One of the things that really fascinated Madison was the whole topic of deliberation. And by deliberation, he really meant calm, patient, increasingly informed discussion where representatives would go to Congress. They would be locally accountable to their districts, so locally responsible for expressing their interests and their concerns. They should, to use an 18th term very popular in the 18th century, they should have deep sympathy with their constituents. Sympathy is a great subject in the 18th century. It's a major theme for Adam Smith, the author of The Wealth of the Nations, but also the theory of moral sentiments. So having both knowledge and sympathy were the defining criteria of being an effective representative. When Madison tried to imagine what the new Congress would look like, he rightly anticipated that for a long time it would consist mostly of amateur lawmakers. Most congressmen would serve only a term or two, and in fact that was historically true pretty much for the first century of the Republic. And most members of the House of Representatives served, I think the mean term of service is 3 years, down to the 1890s. So, but they're basically 1- and 2-term congressmen. So the model of deliberation was you would show up. You would be, in effect, educated on the job. And education would involve deliberation. It would involve a process of your providing information and acquiring information from others. Now, for lots of reasons, we've abandoned that system. But I think the dominant fact we're confronting now, and which everybody talks about, the whole question of deadlock or impasse in government. Again, the parties have become so ideologically divided. The animus between them is so deep. If you talk to people who actually study the day-to-day workings of Congress, they barely eat with one another. There's a time when I think the sources of kind of mutual sympathy that bound politicians one to the other. I mean, they might have different preferences and values, but they all were practicing the same trade. A lot of that has really collapsed. I mean, the party animus, some of it driven, by, the weight and, the preferences, even the prejudices of primary voters is a big source. It's a remarkable thing to find the fear of being primaried, the idea that you might be, challenged in your own district. But, you have to flip that around. The fear of being primaried. Is there nothing else useful you can do in life if you were to lose a congressional election? Wouldn't you rather stand up for your principles than, have to feel you had a toady to, the most prejudiced voters within your district? I mean, that's a very disturbing specter of what's happened to the popular character of our politics.